Welcome to Whispers and Bricks. My name is Ari Sherman. I'm your host. My guest today is Jeanne-Mari Retief. When Jeanne turned 35, she experienced great change, contemplation, confusion, frustration, and joy. She invested so much of her energy in becoming an expert in her field, but realized that the career she had built with a single-minded focus no longer fulfilled or inspired her. It was a confusing and frightening realization. Facing a health and soul crisis, she decided to make a big change. She integrated her human rights background into Figgy, which allowed her to seek serenity and still experience the adrenaline rush of creating something new. Through open sharing of her experiences, including the good and bad, as well as the difficult and joyful, she aims to create a sacred space for women like herself to find support and community. This is what Figgy is to her. It is her best life. It is her Figgy life. Please help me welcome Jeanne-Mari Retief.
Thank
Hi,
you so
Jeanne. How are
much.
you? How you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So, um, we're right around the holiday. We just finished the holiday season. How was your holiday season? How did it go?
I had a really good one, actually. I was just with my family, so my husband and my little girl, and we cooked and we baked, so ate way too much.
Yeah, doesn't everybody? That's the number one. What did they say? The number one New Year's resolution is losing weight and going to the gym.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand that.
Yeah. Okay. So, as you know, the name of this podcast is Whispers and Bricks. The
Yeah.
whispers are those voices telling us what is the right thing to do, and they represent the good in life. The bricks represent the bad things that we go through in life. And I know personally, nobody out there has a perfect life or a straight
Mhm.
line life. Everybody gets hit with a brick at some point in time or another. And for you, it looks like things were a little bit difficult growing up, starting with your first brick, the sexual abuse. Tell us about that. How old were you when that happened? And, give us a little information about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely have to say I am not unique. Unfortunately, this happens to many people. But I was between 8 and 9 years old when it started. It was the sexual abuse was perpetrated by my grandfather, who was living on our property with us. And this continued for 2 or 3 years on a daily basis.
Oh, that must have been really, really difficult.
I mean,
Especially family member. I've heard, sexual abuse stories. A lot of times it's the next door neighbor, it's the little friend or whatever it is. But I know that it does happen to family members, but I get the feeling that those are even more difficult to deal with. But later on, right? You went to college.
yeah, I did. I finished my high school and I went to study a law degree. And then I did my master's and my PhD in international human rights and international criminal law.
Wow. So you have a BA, an MA, and a PhD.
Yeah.
Wow. You were like a perpetual student.
Yeah, I actually was. And a lot of people mocked me about that. But I think my background drove me to want to do something meaningful that could have an impact and hopefully help people and change lives. So I was always super driven to kind of just look forward, because if
Yeah.
I sat still for too long or looked back or considered too many things, then it felt like this whole house of cards was going to come down.
Oh, right. So I'm assuming after that you went off to work.
I did. Well, while I was studying, I wouldn't say blindsided, but my body and my mind reminded me of the trauma that I had been through as a child and not properly dealt with. So I went through a very bad stage of depression. I tried to commit suicide, and it was a long road to recovery in my final year of law. But I decided not to defer the year. And I went back and I rewrote all of my exams. And luckily, I passed with really good marks.
Oh, wow. Wow. I don't know that I was aware of that, of those situations that you were going through. Um, but you did go to work. Am I
Yes, I
correct?
did.
And where
Yeah,
was that?
I went to work at the law clinic because I always felt that I wanted to work in human rights law. So all of my friends were really stressed out and competing for these top law firms, and everybody wanted to work for like the big five law firms. And obviously your salary as a candidate attorney is a lot more gracious and generous when you work for these firms. But
Mhm.
I was always committed to rather seeking something in legal aid or the law clinic, and I was lucky enough to get one of the final positions.
Really? That sounds amazing. Now, how long did you work? How long were
uh
you in that field?
So I completed my candidate attorney, my articles of clerkship there. Then I went on to become an attorney, and then I was promoted to supervising attorney of students, the fourth year students that come in and they practice how it would work in the legal industry. And then after that, I decided to take a break and tour America.
Oh,
And yeah, then I did something different.
uh-huh. Now, as we discussed, you then founded a human rights consultancy business, which you built from the ground up.
Yeah, that was that was a very stressful thing to do because I had been trying to secure a job at the United Nations or the African Union or those kind of places. And, you know, they always say when you hear no, just keep going. And I just kind of kept my head down and just kept trying. But after like a year and a half, I decided, look, I don't think this is going to work out. So I'm just going to do it myself.
Mm,
And everybody thought I was crazy because you can make a living with this type of work and nobody's going to hire you. And then it ended up being quite a success. And I worked on some amazing projects. I actually just finished another really big one in Mozambique in December. So I'm very lucky and I'm very blessed that it worked out that way, and that the people that were put on my path were put on my path at that time. And I'm it's really one of the things in my life I'm really proud of. It was time to let it go, but I'm very proud that I was able to do that.
wow, that's like awesome. But as you kind of alluded to, the fact that it was very, very stressful,
Yeah.
um, and then you kind of got hit with another brick. You developed a panic disorder.
Yeah, I think for me, this was an underlying anxiety issue that I had been dealing with most of my life. When I look back on things now and certain situations and circumstances, I can definitely see the signs that I did not see before. So I think I had been dealing with this for a long time. It was just not diagnosed.
Mhm.
So when we immigrated to Portugal, you know, I think it was kind of the final straw, that stress of the move, the stress of the human rights work I was doing, the secondary kind of trauma that comes with that. I was still trying to very much deal with what had happened in my life and how to navigate that. And I think my body just gave in and said, look, I can't do this anymore. I can't take you any further. And it was a really scary, scary thing. And ever since then, I've been to so many doctors. I've had all the tests done and we've confirmed the diagnosis. And I've really just been working on managing it in a good way and being in a healthy space. And that meant I needed to make really big, big changes in my life.
Okay. So you just reminded me, where were you from originally? Because you said you moved to Portugal. Where were you
I
previously?
am South African, so we are from South Africa.
You don't have a South African accent.
People always say that, but I think it's because I've been traveling so much. So and I've lived in many places. So I think I pick up a little bit of something everywhere, and then it just sounds really strange.
Wow. Now, you said you mentioned the fact that you had attempted suicide.
Yeah.
Um, when was that, and what was going on? And this is a multi-part question, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but where was that? What was going on? And you obviously, that was probably, you hit rock bottom at that point in time. And so the question